The American dream has long been viewed as a beacon of hope. For many, it represents the idea that with hard work, anyone can achieve success. It promises that anyone, regardless of background, has the potential to rise from humble beginnings to great prosperity. But beneath this inspiring vision, there is a darker reality that is often hidden from the public eye. The pursuit of the American dream can sometimes feel more like a trap than a path to fulfillment. While many are chasing this dream, they are unknowingly becoming entangled in a system designed to benefit only a select few. For some, the dream is more of a nightmare where the dream is forever out of reach. At the heart of this system is the idea of upward mobility. Society teaches us that we can pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and achieve greatness. However, this narrative often ignores the deep structural inequalities that shape the opportunities available to individuals. People born into poverty face an uphill battle to break free from the cycles of disadvantage. The education system, for example, is designed to reward those who already have resources. Wealthy families can afford private tutors and extracurricular activities that give their children a competitive advantage. On the other hand, children from low-income families are often left with a subpar education and few opportunities to break the cycle. Despite this, many continue to hold on to the belief that anyone can make it if they just try hard enough. But this myth of meritocracy fails to account for the systemic barriers that make it difficult for many to succeed. The rise of consumer culture in the United States has also contributed to the darker side of the American dream. As the country became more prosperous, the idea of success shifted. It was no longer just about owning a home and having a steady job. The new measure of success became about accumulating wealth and possessions. The American dream became synonymous with materialism. This shift has had a profound impact on the way people view their lives. Instead of seeking happiness through meaningful relationships or personal growth, many now measure their worth through what they own. This has led to a culture of consumerism where people are constantly striving for more. The desire for the latest gadgets, the biggest houses, and the most expensive cars can never be fully satisfied. The pursuit of these material goods can lead to stress and dissatisfaction as people find themselves trapped in a cycle of endless consumption. Debt has become another key player in the dark side of the American dream. In a society that promotes the accumulation of wealth and material goods, many have turned to credit to finance their dreams. The ease with which people can access credit cards and loans has made it tempting to buy things they cannot afford. What started as small debts quickly snowball into larger financial burdens. People find themselves trapped in cycles of debt that are nearly impossible to escape. This financial strain takes a toll on mental and physical health. The pressure to keep up with financial obligations can lead to stress, anxiety, and even depression. What was once seen as a tool to achieve success has become a source of hardship for many. The American dream has evolved into a nightmare for those who find themselves buried in debt and unable to live up to the standards set by society. The impact of social media on the American dream cannot be overlooked. With the rise of Instagram, Facebook, and other platforms, people are constantly exposed to the lives of others. Social media promotes a curated version of reality where everyone appears to be living their best life. The constant barrage of perfect images can lead to feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt. People begin to compare their own lives to the highlight reels of others and feel as though they are falling short. This creates a sense of competition where people feel the need to outdo each other. Instead of fostering a sense of community, social media amplifies the feeling of loneliness and isolation. As people strive to keep up with the images of perfection, they can lose sight of what truly matters. The corporate world has played a significant role in perpetuating the dark side of the American dream. Companies have mastered the art of making people feel as though their worth is tied to their job. The American dream promises upward mobility and success, but for many this has come at the cost of their personal well-being. In a culture that glorifies workaholism, employees are often expected to sacrifice their personal lives for the sake of their careers. The pressure to succeed professionally can lead to burnout, exhaustion, and feelings of emptiness. People are encouraged to work harder, do more, and be more productive. Yet, despite all the effort, many find themselves still struggling to get ahead. The system rewards those who are willing to sacrifice everything for success, but offers little in return for those who burn out along the way. Another dark aspect of the American dream is the erosion of community. As people chase individual success, they often lose sight of the importance of relationships and connections. In a society that prioritizes individual achievement, it's easy to forget the value of working together for the common good. People are encouraged to view others as competition rather than collaborators. This mentality fosters a sense of isolation and alienation. Instead of supporting each other, people are constantly looking for ways to get ahead. The idea of community is slowly being replaced by the idea of individualism, where success is seen as something to be attained alone. This has contributed to a breakdown in social cohesion and a sense of disconnect among people. The racial and economic inequalities that persist in the United States also play a significant role in the dark side of the American dream. For people of color, the dream of upward mobility is often out of reach. Systemic racism and discrimination have created barriers that prevent many from achieving success. While white Americans are more likely to have access to quality education, housing, and employment opportunities, people of color face significant obstacles in these areas. Even when they do achieve success, they are often met with additional challenges that their white counterparts do not face. These racial disparities create a society where the American dream is not equally accessible to all. The dream of success becomes a distant reality for many who are held back by forces beyond their control. The healthcare system in the United States is another area where the American dream falls short for many people. Access to quality healthcare is often determined by one's ability to pay. While the wealthy can afford the best care, those who are less fortunate are often left with limited options. For many, the cost of healthcare is so high that they are forced to choose between medical treatment and basic necessities. This creates a system where people are left to suffer in silence while the rich continue to receive the best care. The American dream promises that anyone can live a healthy and fulfilling life, but for many, the reality is very different. The healthcare system in the United States is broken, and it is further contributing to the inequalities that exist in society. In the face of all these challenges, it's easy to become disillusioned with the American dream. The pursuit of success and happiness seems like an impossible task for many, yet despite the obstacles, people continue to believe in the dream. Some hope that one day they will overcome the odds and achieve the success they have been promised. Others are simply trying to survive in a system that often feels stacked against them. The American dream may still hold a certain appeal, but for many it has become a distant ideal that seems out of reach. Despite this, people continue to strive for something better. Whether they realize it or not, the pursuit of the American dream is taking a toll on their lives and their sense of self-worth. The deeper we look into the American dream, the more we begin to realize that its promises are not as simple as they may seem. The allure of achieving success has driven many to sacrifice their health, relationships, and well-being, all in the name of climbing the social ladder. The real question we must ask is whether the dream is worth chasing, or if it is simply an illusion that keeps us trapped in a cycle of stress, anxiety, and dissatisfaction. But for many, the pursuit of success has become so ingrained in the fabric of their lives that it is almost impossible to escape. In fact, the idea of achieving the American dream has become a cultural mandate, one that people feel they must fulfill even if it means compromising their true desires and happiness. One of the most striking realities of the American dream is how it distorts people's understanding of success. Success has become synonymous with wealth, status, and material possessions, but these things are not always indicators of happiness or fulfillment. In fact, research has shown that an increase in wealth and material goods often does not correlate with a significant increase in well-being. Many people who achieve financial success or accumulate wealth report feeling unfulfilled or disconnected from their true passions. This disillusionment stems from the fact that the American dream often fails to acknowledge the importance of emotional fulfillment, meaningful relationships, and personal growth. Success in the modern world has become a hollow goal, one that is constantly out of reach because it is based on external factors rather than internal happiness. People are taught to equate financial stability with personal worth, and this creates a toxic cycle where individuals feel the need to constantly prove themselves. The pressure to keep up with others can lead to feelings of inadequacy, stress, and self-doubt. The need to achieve success for the sake of validation rather than personal satisfaction can take a severe toll on mental health. It's no surprise that mental health issues such as anxiety and depression have been on the rise in recent years. More people are feeling isolated and overwhelmed as they chase an ideal that is both elusive and harmful. The pursuit of wealth and success often leads to burnout and exhaustion, leaving people with little to no time to enjoy the very things they worked so hard to acquire. The constant need for validation also ties into the rise of social comparison, particularly in the age of social media. Platforms like Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter present curated versions of people's lives, often showcasing wealth, success, and glamour. This creates an environment where individuals feel as though they must live up to an impossible standard. Every post, every like, every comment becomes a measure of one's worth. People begin to define their success by how many followers they have or how many likes they receive on a photo. This constant comparison not only distorts reality, but also intensifies feelings of inadequacy and jealousy. The dream of success becomes about external validation rather than self-fulfillment. Additionally, the idea that hard work alone will lead to success is a myth that perpetuates inequality. The American dream tells us that anyone can succeed through determination and hard work. However, this narrative fails to consider the systemic barriers that exist for people from marginalized groups. For many people of color, the dream of upward mobility remains just that, a dream. Discrimination in education, the workplace, and housing has made it significantly harder for individuals from these communities to break out of poverty. Even when they do work hard and achieve success, they often face additional challenges that their white counterparts do not. Racial bias in hiring practices, lack of access to quality education, and unequal opportunities in the workplace have created a system where upward mobility is not truly accessible to everyone. This systemic inequality is further compounded by the corporate world, which thrives on perpetuating the idea of the self-made individual. Companies tout the stories of entrepreneurs who started with nothing and became billionaires through sheer grit and determination. These stories are used as proof that anyone can achieve the American dream if they just put in the work. However, the reality is that most people do not have the same opportunities or resources to succeed. The playing field is not level, and the idea that anyone can make it by simply working harder ignores the systemic factors that keep certain groups at a disadvantage. The growing wealth gap in the United States also highlights the dark side of the American dream. The rich continue to accumulate wealth, while the poor are left behind. The top 1% of earners in the country hold a disproportionate amount of wealth, while the middle and lower classes continue to struggle. This growing divide creates a society where success is no longer about hard work or talent, but about privilege. The American dream has become a game that is rigged in favor of the wealthy. Those who start with resources have a much higher chance of success, while those who start with little are left to fight an uphill battle. At the same time, the cost of living in the United States has risen significantly, making it more difficult for individuals to achieve financial independence. Housing costs, healthcare expenses, and student loan debt have made it harder for many to save, invest, or build wealth. The American dream promises a life of comfort and prosperity, but for many, it has become a constant struggle to make ends meet. Many are forced to work multiple jobs just to pay their bills, leaving little time for personal pursuits or relaxation. The relentless drive to achieve financial security takes a toll on physical and emotional well-being. People sacrifice their time, energy, and health in the pursuit of a dream that may never materialize. The educational system is another area where the American dream falls short. Education is often touted as the key to success, but the reality is that the system is broken. Students from low-income families face significant barriers to accessing quality education. Schools in poor neighborhoods are often underfunded and lack the resources necessary to provide students with the skills and opportunities they need to succeed. In contrast, wealthy families can afford private schools, tutors, and extracurricular activities that give their children a significant advantage. This disparity creates a system where only those with financial resources have access to the tools they need to succeed. The myth that anyone can rise to the top based on merit alone ignores the fact that not everyone starts from the same place. Furthermore, the healthcare system in the United States exacerbates the challenges faced by those who are trying to achieve the American dream. The high cost of healthcare has made it impossible for many to receive the medical care they need. People are forced to choose between paying for healthcare and paying for basic necessities. This financial strain often leads to poor health outcomes, which in turn affects people's ability to work and succeed. The American dream promises a healthy and fulfilling life, but for many, the reality is that their health is constantly at risk due to the cost of care. This lack of access to affordable health care has further widened the gap between the rich and the poor. The environmental crisis is another aspect of the American dream that is often overlooked. The relentless pursuit of growth, consumption, and profit has led to environmental degradation that affects all aspects of society. The American dream encourages individuals to accumulate wealth and material goods without considering the long-term consequences for the planet. The impact of climate change, pollution, and resource depletion is becoming more apparent every day, and yet the pursuit of the American dream continues to drive unsustainable practices. In this context, the American dream is not just an illusion, it is a dangerous and destructive force that threatens the future of the planet. The breakdown of family and community structures is also a significant consequence of the pursuit of the American dream. As people focus more on their careers and financial success, they often neglect the relationships that are crucial to their happiness and well-being. The emphasis on individual achievement has eroded the sense of community that was once the foundation of American society. Families are torn apart by the pressures of work and financial instability, and social connections become increasingly superficial. The American dream has promoted a culture of individualism that values personal success over collective well-being. In doing so, it has contributed to the erosion of the social fabric that once held communities together. In many ways, the American dream has become a trap. It promises happiness and success, but for many, it has led to stress, anxiety, and a sense of emptiness. People are taught to chase after an ideal that is out of reach, sacrificing their health, relationships, and values in the process. The dream of success has become a burden, and for many, it is impossible to escape. As we continue to chase after this elusive dream, we must ask ourselves whether it is truly worth it. What are we sacrificing in the pursuit of success, and is it possible to redefine the American dream in a way that is more inclusive, equitable, and sustainable for everyone? It becomes increasingly clear that the very foundation of this dream is rooted in a consumerist mindset that thrives on perpetual dissatisfaction. The dream tells us that happiness can be bought. It suggests that the more possessions we accumulate, the more successful we become. This is reinforced through advertisements, media, and social influences that equate wealth and material goods with personal achievement and status. Yet, what we often fail to realize is that this pursuit of material wealth creates a void that is difficult to fill. The more we acquire, the more we desire, leading to an insatiable craving for more. Many people who achieve great wealth often find themselves in an emotional and spiritual crisis. The satisfaction derived from purchasing luxury items or achieving financial success fades quickly. As a result, they seek out new possessions, experiences, or status symbols in an attempt to recapture that fleeting sense of fulfillment. This creates a dangerous cycle of consumerism, where individuals are constantly trying to fill an emotional void that cannot be satisfied with things. It is not uncommon for people to achieve material success only to realize that it has not brought them the happiness they imagined. This gap between expectation and reality leads to feelings of emptiness and disillusionment. Furthermore, the emphasis on wealth and materialism has led to a devaluation of other aspects of life that contribute to a meaningful existence. Qualities like kindness, empathy, and emotional intelligence are not celebrated in the same way as financial success. Instead of fostering a culture where people are valued for their character and contributions to society, the focus has shifted to individualistic achievement. Success is no longer measured by how we treat others, but by how much we own and how we compare to those around us. The collective good has been sacrificed for the sake of personal gain, leaving behind a society that is more divided and disconnected than ever before. Another critical issue that arises when we analyze the darker side of the American dream is the increasing corporatization of nearly every aspect of life. In the United States, corporate interests have become so intertwined with the idea of success that they often dictate what success even means. The corporate world has shaped our education system, healthcare, and even our legal system to cater to profit over people. The goal is no longer to serve the public good or ensure equitable opportunities for all, but rather to maximize profit for shareholders. This results in an economic structure where a few corporations control vast amounts of wealth and resources, while the majority of individuals remain disenfranchised. The corporate world thrives on creating dependency. It thrives on ensuring that people rely on their services and products. It encourages a work culture where employees are expected to be constantly available, perpetuating an unhealthy work-life balance. Companies now look for ways to stretch the productivity of their employees without providing them the time and resources they need to live fulfilling personal lives. Workers are expected to devote long hours to their jobs, even at the expense of their health, family, and leisure time. The rise of gig economy jobs is another example of this trend, where workers are treated as expendable contractors rather than valued employees. The lack of job security, health benefits, and retirement plans has left many feeling uncertain about their futures. Wages have stagnated for most workers, while the cost of living continues to rise. In the past, it was possible for an individual to work a single job and earn enough to support a family. Today, however, the reality is different. Many families now require two incomes just to make ends meet, and even then, they often struggle to afford basic necessities such as healthcare, housing, and education. This is particularly evident in urban areas where housing costs have skyrocketed. The price of a home has risen far beyond what most families can afford, forcing many to rent rather than buy. Meanwhile, landlords and real estate developers profit from the increasing demand for rental properties, making it even harder for individuals to build wealth through home ownership. Despite the harsh realities of the job market and the housing crisis, many still cling to the idea that the American dream is achievable through hard work. This belief often leads to a sense of personal failure when individuals cannot achieve success. Those who are struggling are often made to feel as though they are not working hard enough or that they simply lack the willpower to succeed. The myth of meritocracy perpetuates the idea that anyone can succeed if they just work harder. Yet the reality is that for many, no amount of hard work will ever be enough to overcome the systemic barriers that exist. People are left feeling defeated, frustrated, and lost as they pour their time and energy into a system that seems rigged against them. The pressure to succeed also creates an environment where failure is stigmatized. The fear of failure is deeply ingrained in American culture, and this fear can prevent people from taking risks or pursuing their passions. Society teaches that failure is something to be avoided at all costs, and as a result, people often settle for jobs or careers that don't fulfill them. The fear of failure keeps individuals stuck in jobs they don't enjoy, relationships that are unhealthy, and lifestyles that drain them emotionally and mentally. The pursuit of success becomes an endless race where individuals are constantly running but never truly reaching their destination. In a society that values achievement above all else, the fear of failure often stifles personal growth and creativity. There is also a hidden cost to the American dream when it comes to the environment. The pursuit of wealth and consumption comes at the expense of the planet. The relentless need for growth, expansion, and profit has led to widespread environmental degradation. Deforestation, pollution, climate change, and the depletion of natural resources are all byproducts of the capitalist drive for more. The American dream encourages people to consume without considering the long-term consequences for the environment. This has led to an unsustainable lifestyle that is not only damaging to the planet, but also detrimental to future generations. The emphasis on growth at all costs ignores the environmental toll that it takes, and the true cost of this dream may be much greater than we realize. The relationship between the American dream and environmental destruction is not coincidental. As industries prioritize profit, they cut corners and exploit the planet's resources without considering the long-term impact. The oil industry, for example, has profited immensely from the extraction of fossil fuels, while at the same time contributing to environmental degradation. The expansion of industries that rely on fossil fuels has contributed significantly to global warming and environmental destruction. The American dream has become synonymous with environmental destruction as people continue to pursue wealth and success without considering the damage being done to the earth. Another aspect of the American dream that remains largely overlooked is the impact of mental health. The pressures to succeed, conform, and constantly prove one's worth have created a mental health crisis in the United States. The expectation to always be productive and to measure one's worth by external achievements has led to a rise in anxiety, depression, and burnout. The pursuit of the American dream often comes at the cost of mental well-being, as people push themselves beyond their limits in an attempt to succeed. The myth that success will bring happiness can lead people to ignore their emotional needs, resulting in mental health struggles that are often left unaddressed. The American dream is also contributing to a sense of identity crisis for many individuals. As people continue to chase success and wealth, they often lose sight of who they are and what truly matters to them. The dream of success becomes a driving force that consumes their every waking moment, leaving little room for self-reflection or personal growth. People become so caught up in achieving external markers of success that they forget to nurture their internal sense of purpose. In the process, they lose touch with what makes them unique and valuable beyond their accomplishments. The American dream, rather than fostering individuality and self-expression, has become a force that diminishes it. The dream itself is built on the idea of individual success, yet it demands conformity. To achieve success, one must follow certain rules, adhere to certain standards, and measure oneself against a predefined set of goals. This creates a paradox where the pursuit of individuality leads to the loss of individuality. People are constantly chasing success within a narrow framework, and the desire to stand out becomes a race to fit in. The pursuit of the American dream, rather than leading to self-actualization, often leads to a loss of identity. In light of all this, it is important to recognize that the American dream is not a singular, fixed ideal. It is a concept that has been shaped by historical and social forces, and it has different meanings for different people. For some, the American dream may still represent hope and opportunity. For others, it may be a constant reminder of the deep inequities that exist in society. As we reflect on the dark side of the American dream, we must ask ourselves what kind of society we want to create. Do we want a society where success is defined by material wealth and individual achievement, or do we want a society where people are valued for their character, their contributions to the community, and their ability to live meaningful lives? Ultimately, the American dream is an evolving concept, and its darker aspects can serve as a reminder of the need for change. The dream may still be alive for some, but for many, it has become a burden. The pursuit of success must be reframed to include not just personal achievement, but also collective well-being, sustainability, and mental health. Only then can we begin to imagine a version of the American dream that is truly attainable for all. As we explore deeper into the complexities of the American dream, we can see that it represents far more than just individual ambition. It is a reflection of a broader societal mindset that permeates every aspect of American culture. This mindset values success at all costs, constantly pushing people to work harder, achieve more, and accumulate wealth, regardless of the personal or collective toll. This relentless drive toward achievement has created a society where people are measured by their accomplishments and possessions rather than their character or contributions to the greater good. But at what cost? The pursuit of this ideal has not only strained individuals' physical, emotional, and mental health, but it has also contributed to widening inequality, environmental degradation, and social alienation. One of the fundamental problems with the American dream is its underlying assumption that success is attainable for everyone, regardless of background, race, or socioeconomic status. It assumes that anyone can rise to the top if they simply work hard enough. However, this view ignores the social, economic, and institutional factors that significantly impact a person's ability to succeed. People born into poverty face enormous obstacles that make it nearly impossible for them to break the cycle. Lack of access to quality education, inadequate health care, and discrimination in the workplace all contribute to the systemic barriers that prevent upward mobility. For marginalized communities, the idea of the American dream is often an unattainable fantasy, one that only serves to reinforce their exclusion from the benefits of society. Racial and ethnic inequality in the United States is deeply tied to the myth of the American dream. For African Americans, Latinos, indigenous peoples, and other racial minorities, the dream of upward mobility is often blocked by discrimination, unequal access to resources, and a legacy of historical oppression. Despite hard work and resilience, many people of color are kept at a disadvantage by the systemic racism embedded in American institutions. Studies have shown that individuals with ethnic-sounding names are less likely to be called back for job interviews, and people of color are more likely to face discriminatory hiring practices or unequal pay for the same work. These structural inequalities make it harder, if not impossible, for people from marginalized backgrounds to achieve the same level of success as their white counterparts, regardless of how hard they work. Even when individuals from these communities manage to overcome the odds and achieve success, they often face additional challenges. They are frequently subjected to stereotypes, tokenization, or a sense of otherness in the workplace. This means that success is not always rewarded equally, even for those who have worked tirelessly to attain it. The American dream, in its idealized form, fails to account for the fact that the playing field is not level, and that people face different barriers based on their race, gender, or class. The economic inequality that exists in the United States is another significant aspect of the American dream's dark side. While a small percentage of the population has amassed enormous wealth, the vast majority of Americans are struggling to make ends meet. The richest 1% of the population controls a disproportionate amount of the nation's wealth, while the working class is left to fight for survival. Many people are trapped in low-paying, dead-end jobs with little to no benefits or opportunities for advancement. They are forced to work long hours just to pay the bills, leaving them with little time to focus on their personal well-being or pursue their passions. At the same time, the cost of living continues to rise, further exacerbating the financial strain on working-class Americans. Housing costs, healthcare, and education are all rising at a pace that far exceeds wage growth. The dream of homeownership, once considered the cornerstone of the American dream, is now out of reach for many people, particularly those in urban areas where housing prices have skyrocketed. The student loan debt crisis has also made it more difficult for young people to achieve financial independence. With the burden of debt weighing them down, many individuals are forced to delay major life milestones, such as buying a home, starting a family, or saving for retirement. This economic disparity is particularly evident in urban and rural communities, where the gap between the wealthy and the poor continues to widen. In cities like New York, Los Angeles, and San Francisco, the rich live in luxurious high-rise apartments while working-class families struggle to afford rent. In rural areas, economic opportunities are scarce, and many people are forced to leave their communities in search of work, only to find that their dreams of prosperity are just as elusive. These stark differences in wealth and opportunity have led to a growing sense of resentment and frustration among the public, further dividing the nation. In addition to economic inequality, the American dream has also become entangled with environmental destruction. The relentless pursuit of growth, consumption, and profit has had a devastating impact on the planet. The industrialization that fueled the American dream has led to widespread deforestation, pollution, and climate change. As corporations continue to exploit natural resources for profit, the environment suffers, and future generations are left to deal with the consequences. The rise of consumerism and mass production has exacerbated the environmental crisis. The demand for cheap, disposable goods has led to a throwaway culture where products are manufactured, used, and discarded with little regard for their environmental impact. The American dream encourages people to constantly consume without considering the long-term environmental cost. This has led to a society that prioritizes material wealth over the preservation of the planet. The reality of environmental degradation is becoming increasingly apparent, with rising sea levels, extreme weather events, and pollution threatening ecosystems and communities across the globe. Moreover, the growing reliance on fossil fuels has created a cycle of dependence that is difficult to break. The American dream, in its quest for infinite growth and material accumulation, has fueled an energy-intensive, unsustainable lifestyle. The fossil fuel industry, despite its contributions to climate change, continues to receive subsidies and political support, making it difficult to transition to more sustainable energy sources. As the planet faces the threat of climate change, the pursuit of the American dream remains a major obstacle to the kind of systemic change needed to address the environmental crisis. This paradox is compounded by the way in which the media and political leaders continue to promote the American dream as a solution to societal problems. The rhetoric surrounding the American dream suggests that anyone can achieve success if they simply work hard enough. This message, however, ignores the complex social, economic, and environmental factors that influence an individual's ability to succeed. By continuing to uphold the myth of the American dream, society fails to address the root causes of inequality, environmental degradation, and mental health issues. Instead of pushing for meaningful change, the myth of the American dream keeps individuals focused on personal achievement, distracting them from the collective action needed to address the pressing challenges facing society. Furthermore, the American dream often promotes a sense of individualism that undermines the importance of community and social cooperation. In the pursuit of personal success, many people become disconnected from the needs and struggles of those around them. The emphasis on competition and self-reliance leaves little room for empathy or solidarity. Instead of working together to create a more just and equitable society, people are pitted against one another in a race to the top. This culture of individualism has led to a breakdown in social bonds, making it harder for people to connect with each other and build the kind of supportive communities that are essential for social well-being. This individualistic mindset also has a profound impact on mental health. As people focus more on their personal success and financial achievement, they often neglect their emotional and psychological well-being. The pressure to constantly perform, succeed, and meet societal expectations can lead to anxiety, depression, and burnout. The pursuit of the American dream has become so ingrained in American culture that people often feel compelled to push themselves beyond their limits, even at the expense of their health. The resulting stress and emotional toll have contributed to a national mental health crisis, with more and more people seeking treatment for issues related to stress, anxiety, and depression. In many ways, the American dream has become a form of cultural brainwashing, promoting a vision of success that is not only unrealistic but also harmful. It tells people that they are responsible for their own success, without acknowledging the systemic inequalities that make it harder for some people to achieve their goals. It promotes materialism, competition, and individualism, while downplaying the importance of community, empathy, and social cooperation. The pursuit of the American dream has led to a society that values wealth and achievement over human connection, environmental sustainability, and collective well-being. As we look to the future, it is clear that the American dream must be redefined if it is to have any real meaning for the majority of people. The current version of the dream is outdated, harmful, and increasingly unattainable. A new vision of the American dream is needed, one that prioritizes equity, sustainability, and well-being. Instead of glorifying individual success, we must begin to focus on collective prosperity. We must create a society where people are valued not just for their wealth or achievements, but for their contributions to the common good. By shifting the focus from material accumulation to shared responsibility and mutual support, we can create a vision of success that is both achievable and sustainable for everyone. The dark side of the American dream has become all too apparent in recent years, but it does not have to be the future we choose. As we confront the challenges of inequality, environmental destruction, and mental health crises, we must ask ourselves if this dream is worth preserving in its current form. It is time to reshape the American dream into something that works for all people, not just the privileged few. The future of the American dream depends on our ability to reimagine what success truly means and to create a society that values people over profits, community over competition, and sustainability over consumption. Only then can we begin to move beyond the destructive cycle of the American dream and build a future that is truly inclusive, just, and sustainable for everyone.